By the time he was just 15, Wemby was already playing professional basketball in France. But most nights he couldn't even get on the court. DNPs, garbage time, minutes that barely mattered. For most young players, this would have been devastating. But when Wemby got on the court, he was doing things no 7-footers should be able to do.
Chris Jones back, steal number 3. 2-on-1 opportunities. Wembanyama rewarded for running the floor. 5 points in a row.
By 18 years old, Wemby was a staggering 7'4", and now he was no longer just competing against pros. He was dominating, scoring at will, protecting the rim, and taking over games. As a result, he won MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and the scoring title all in the same season. And just like that, the hype exploded. He was getting compared to some of the all-time greats.
He is basically a Kevin Durant skills-wise with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's body.
Some even called him the greatest prospect ever.
Victor Wembanyama is the singular greatest prospect in NBA draft history.
The hype reached absurd levels with fans already declaring him the next GOAT. But there was still one question. How did Wemby stack up against elite talent on a big stage? That answer came when Wemby's French team visited the US to face the G League Ignite. On the other side stood Scoot Henderson, the number 2 overall prospect. Both players delivered. Scoot attacked the rim, pushed the pace, and made plays. But Wemby looked like he wasn't from this world, pulling up from deep, dominating the paint, and blocking every shot in sight. He finished with 37 points and 5 blocks. The hype kept growing, with even superstars like LeBron being in disbelief.
Everybody, we're labeling like this unicorn thing. Everybody's been a unicorn over the last few years, but he's more like an alien.
Months later would be the biggest moment of Wemby's life, the NBA draft.
With the first pick in the 2023 NBA draft, the San Antonio Spurs select Victor Wembanyama.
And just like that, the most hyped up prospect in decades had arrived. Soon Wemby would get his first taste of NBA action. In a sold out crowd in Summer League, all eyes were on Wemby. Fans were excited to see him go crazy. Expectations were through the roof. But what happened next would surprise everyone.
Back out to Wembanyama for 3.
Goes over 27 minutes.
Spins and fire.
I don't know if Victor has ever asked about your welcome to the NBA moment, but he's going to give as good as he gets.
Wemby looked uncomfortable all night, going just 2 of 13 from the field. Fans clowned him online, calling him overrated, fraud, and even a bust. After all the hype and all the expectations, it only took one bad game for fans to start hating. But now the question was, how would Wemby respond? We didn't have to wait long, because in the very next game, everything clicked.
Wembanyama on the wing, goes through the legs, flashes into the big post. Nice looking turnaround. Wemby for 3.
Wemby played like a superstar, dropping 27 points, 12 boards, and 3 blocks. The game not only silenced the haters, but gave him a ton of confidence, which carried over into the NBA season. In preseason, Wemby was already turning heads. He was scoring with ease on offense while locking down on defense, leading the Spurs to a 5-0 record. Wemby kept it up at the start of the regular season, but then just 5 games into his career, he had his first true breakout moment.
Trey Jones pushing. Back to Victor. Look out. Lift off and detonation for Wembanyama. Final 10 seconds. Wembanyama stepped into a 3. Victor Wembanyama ending the half in style.
Wemby went off for 38 points, 10 boards, and 2 blocks, joining Kevin Durant and LeBron James as the only teenagers to put up that stat line.
Well, one, he's one of one. That's the first thing, Zoo. But I keep telling people, offensively, he's a 7'4" version of Kevin Durant. Defensively, he's something that we've never seen before.
It was an incredible start to his career, but then things would take a dark turn. Despite Wemby's excellence, the Spurs kept losing again and again and again. The Spurs went on an 18-game losing streak, the worst in franchise history. The lack of experience on the roster was an absolute killer as blown leads and late game collapses kept happening. For a competitor like Wemby, the constant losing was eating at him. The frustration kept building until finally it reached a boiling point. In the middle of a game, Wemby checked himself in without the approval of Coach Pop, a rare moment of defiance.
I wasn't allowed to sub in, but I still did it. The coach subbed me in.
Definitely he's frustrated with the minute restriction, but he's also intelligent enough to understand the long term is what we're interested in.
The Spurs were struggling, but the losses weren't meaningless. They were growing pains. Early on, there were mistakes, turnovers, forced shots, moments where the game was moving a little too fast. But eventually, Wemby adapted. He read defenses better, made smarter decisions, and became more well-rounded. By March, Wemby was on a whole new level. He was dominating on a nightly basis, and at the end of the month, he delivered one of the most amazing performances of his young career. In a game against the Knicks, Wemby went nuclear.
Victor, oh my goodness. Hartenstein. Victor said, not this time. Oh, no, learn. Oh my goodness. Victor Wembanyama. Wemby fires for three. Got it!
40 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists. At just 20 years old, he was the youngest player to record a 40-20 game. The Spurs finished near the bottom of the standings, but Wemby's greatness was impossible to ignore. He won Rookie of the Year, made the All-Rookie First Team, and earned all Defensive Team honors. He even led the entire NBA in blocks and finished runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. It wasn't just a great rookie season, it was one of the greatest rookie seasons in NBA history. During his end-of-year press conference, Wemby reflected with a sense of pride.
Yeah, leading rookies in most categories and leading the league in blocks. I'm pretty proud of this.
Not long after the NBA season ended, a new stage awaited, the 2024 Paris Olympics. Wemby was proud to represent his home country, but winning gold was going to be tough. Team USA was the heavy favorite. The odds were stacked against them, but Wemby was determined to win gold. Throughout the tournament, France was unstoppable. Teams had no answer for Wemby's shooting, dribbling, and passing, all in a 7-4 frame. And with Rudy Gobert alongside him, France turned the paint into a no-fly zone. France crushed the competition and made it all the way to the final game versus Team USA. Wemby saved his best for last, leading both teams in scoring with 26 points. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough with Team USA winning 98-87. Wemby was completely heartbroken. The basketball world had nothing but respect for Wemby after the game. He may have lost, but he proved something unmistakable. At just 20 years old, he was already one of the very best players in the world. With the Olympics over, Wemby was excited for the NBA season. But just as things were ramping up, the Spurs faced unexpected adversity. Legendary head coach Greg Popovich suffered a stroke. All of a sudden, the mastermind behind the Spurs dynasty was on the sidelines. For Wemby, he didn't just lose a coach, he was losing a mentor, someone who was key in his development from the jump. Wemby publicly wished him well and hoped for a speedy recovery. Despite losing Coach Pop, Wemby was determined to lead the Spurs to new heights. In his place, assistant coach Mitch Johnson stepped up, ready to help Wemby reach that goal. Early in the season, it was clear that the Spurs were much better. They were in the playoff picture with a solid 10-8 record. Building off his Olympic run, Wemby had become an absolute nightmare to defend. Game after game, he set the bar higher. Then on November 13th against the Wizards, Wemby had a night to remember.
Right decisions on the offensive end. Wesley, Victor Wembanyama taking the contact, counted, and a foul. He's too strong. Wembanyama guarded by Kispert, turns, shoots, and swishes for 50. He's not human. He's an alien.
Wemby went off for a career-high 50 points. But he wasn't done cooking. Soon after, he had another statement game, this time against the Kings.
Magic Wembanyama in the open court. No tragic.
Wemby finished with a triple-double, dropping 34 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, showing the full evolution of his game. Throughout December, Wemby ramped it up, playing like an MVP on a nightly basis. The Wemby Show became must-watch basketball. On Christmas Day, the Spurs visited MSG for a showdown with the Knicks, a game in which Wemby would have a historic explosion.
With top sideline as Wembanyama comes back for the rejection. All short. Wembanyama, what a rebound and putback from Victor Wembanyama, doing alien things on Christmas.
The Spurs lost the game, but Wemby balled out, finishing with 42 points, 5 threes, 18 rebounds, 4 blocks, and 4 steals. A stat line the NBA had never seen before. His greatness was undeniable, as he was a top candidate for both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. He also made the first All-Star team of his career. But just when it looked like Wemby and the Spurs were about to take off, things took a turn for the worse. The Spurs went through a rough stretch in January, going just 4-8 in the month. For the first time all season, Wemby looked mortal. His production started to decline as he was completely exhausted from carrying the team. With losses piling up, the Spurs fell out of the playoff picture. The front office knew they needed to get Wemby some help, so in February they made a bold move.
To Aaron Fox, yes, going to San Antonio. Sources telling our NBA insider Shams Charania that he will team up with Wemby in a 3-team trade.
The Spurs now had one of the top point guards in the game. It didn't take long for the Wemby and Fox duo to become deadly.
I'm saying he's never played with a Kulov threat. Look at what he can do with Victor Wembanyama.
Wemby and Fox will continue to play well off each other, giving the Spurs plenty of optimism heading into the All-Star break. Once the break was over, Wemby was ready to help the Spurs make the playoffs, but in a cruel twist of fate, his season would get cut short due to a blood clot. To make matters even worse, Fox would suffer a hand injury that would cause him to miss the rest of the season as well. Without their two best players, the Spurs finished as just the 13th seed in the West. A terrible end to what appeared to be a promising season. But Wemby refused to be discouraged. With all the talent on the roster, he knew the Spurs could make a big jump next year. After months of rehab, Wemby finally made his return to the court in July. He may have suffered a huge setback, but he was ready for a major comeback. Going into the 2025-26 season, the Spurs were viewed as a potential playoff team. But Wemby was thinking much bigger than that. He wanted the Spurs to compete for a championship now, and he was determined to make that happen. On opening night, the Spurs visited Dallas to have a showdown with the Mavericks. Wemby would go up against Anthony Davis, one of the very best big men of the past decade. This would be a huge test for Wemby and the Spurs. Fans were expecting a competitive game, but what happened that night would shock everyone.
Big gets it into Wembanyama, guarded by Washington. Wembanyama, the fake, the reverse. Wembanyama working Davis, spinning, taking, hitting, plus the foul.
In just 30 minutes, Wemby scored 40 points, grabbed 15 boards, and blocked 3 shots. For years, AD was considered the best defender in basketball, but Wemby completely toyed with him. In just the second game of the season, Wemby flirted with a triple-double, posting 29 points, 11 boards, and 9 blocks in a win over the Pelicans. He kept excelling as the Spurs jumped out to a 5-0 record, their best opening stretch in franchise history. The league took notice, naming Wemby the Western Conference Player of the Week. The Spurs were no longer just a nice young team. They were now viewed as contenders. But there was another team that was drawing even more buzz, the OKC Thunder. They looked invincible, where at 24-1, they were on pace for the best record ever. And soon the Spurs had a chance to compete against the Thunder on a big stage, the NBA Cup semifinals. The Thunder were the favorites to win the game, but Wemby wanted the smoke. Early on, it looked like the Thunder were in control. San Antonio was down 16. But then everything changed.
Now the post-up for a big like Wemby is at the high elbow.
Here's this matchup, Wembanyama with the rejection. Watched by Caruso. Wembanyama got it back, fires, and it drops.
Wemby took control in the second half as the Spurs stormed back and closed out the Thunder. A shocking upset. The win sent San Antonio to the NBA Cup Finals, where they would face the New York Knicks. The game was a battle from start to finish. And heading into the fourth quarter, the Spurs were in control, holding on to a 5-point lead. Just one strong finish away from a title. But the Knicks won the clutch minutes, hitting big shot after big shot. And just like that, the game slipped away. San Antonio fell short, losing the NBA Cup final. In the post-game conference, Wemby was extremely emotional.
Sorry, I lost somebody today.
Just hours before the NBA Cup final, Wemby found out his grandmother had passed away. It was a reminder that Wemby, though ultra-talented, was still human. And despite being heartbroken, he still suited up and competed, which earned him league-wide respect. It was a hard moment for Wemby, but he didn't let it break him. He kept his eyes on the prize, an NBA championship. And soon after, he would lead the Spurs on a dominant run. During that stretch, the Spurs would avenge their losses, beating the Thunder twice and getting sweet revenge on the Knicks. And as the Spurs surged, so did Wemby's status, now getting MVP buzz and firmly in the race for the Defensive Player of the Year. He was once again an all-star, this time a starter. At this point, it was undeniable. Wemby was a superstar. But were the Spurs truly ready to be champions? Despite the momentum, many had their doubts.
But who do you think won't live up to the playoff expectations that are set forth for them?
I'm going to say it's the San Antonio Spurs.
Wemby heard all the criticism and he was determined to prove them wrong. So after the All-Star break, he responded. The Spurs came out different, sharper, more confident, and suddenly they simply couldn't lose. Blowouts, statement wins, dominant victories. They were the hottest team in the league with an 11-game win streak. Wemby was at the center of it all, averaging an absurd 28 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Behind Wemby's elite production, the Spurs finished number 2 in the West. In the first round, they would play the Portland Trail Blazers. The Spurs were the favorite, but Wemby knew he was going to have to bring it. And in Game 1, he went off.
And he's back, trying to extend a 7-0 run. Shot clock at 4, Wemby stepping back, taking 3. The Pacific Northwest.
Wemby dropped 35 points in a dominant win, surpassing Tim Duncan for the most points ever for a Spur in their playoff debut. It was a hell of a game, and he wasn't done making history as the very next day he became the NBA's first unanimous Defensive Player of the Year winner.
But I'm super happy to win this award and actually super proud to be the first ever unanimous.
Wemby was proud of his award, but now it was time to take care of business in Game 2. But getting the win wasn't going to be easy. The Blazers were hell-bent on tying the series, and that was clear from the jump with Portland up 13 in the first quarter. Things were already going bad for the Spurs, but then disaster struck.
Moving off Holiday, trying to pull the chair, get out of the way. Wembanyama to the deck. Foul on Holiday.
Wemby headed to the locker room and didn't return the rest of the game. Without their young superstar, the Spurs lost the game, tying the series at 1-1. The next day, it was reported that Wemby had suffered a concussion, leaving his status for the rest of the series up in the air. As of now, it's unclear when Wemby is going to return to the playoffs. But one thing's for sure, with how competitive Wemby is, he's definitely going to do everything in his power to return as quickly as possible. In the regular season, the Spurs actually played pretty well in the games that Wemby missed. But the playoffs is a completely different beast, so we'll just have to see what happens. But anyway, that's going to be it for me, and now we'll hear from you guys. What do you think of how Wemby has played this season? Do you think he can bounce back from that concussion and help the Spurs beat the Blazers and go on a championship run? Let me hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next video.